Hi,
Hi, everyone.
everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I just want to remind you who we are. My name is Hini, and I'm International Affairs Coordinator at NBCC, alongside with me, my colleague.
Hi, guys. I'm Claire Kelly. I'm the International Immigration Advisor. I am based here in sunny Moncton today.
And I'm based out of Fredericton. Just want to say thank you guys for watching us and for your feedbacks, for your comments. Some of you recognize us on the street here in Canada, which
Yeah,
is
that was the best. We've been
yeah,
recognized. Some of
yeah,
you have already arrived in Moncton and in Fredericton, and we've been spotted. It's kind of cool to to be recognized from our webinars. So
yep.
that's great.
Then don't hesitate. You can come over and
Yeah,
talk to us.
for sure.
So just want to introduce topics that we're going to talk today. We're going to talk about airport pickup services. I know you've been asking it for quite a bit, so we're going to touch basics about airport pickup services. We're going to talk about the transportation system in Canada and in New Brunswick, and we're going to talk about housing and going to do some announcement, and then we're going to jump into your questions. So if you have questions, please type them right now, and we'll get back to them when we will finalize, when we will complete our presentation. So
Yeah.
Claire.
All right. So yes, as Hanny mentioned, we've had some questions about airport pickup service, whether or not we offer pickup services at NBCC, and the answer is yes and no, depending. So first thing I want to say is that the if you are arriving into uh, New Brunswick, so whether that's Moncton or Fredericton or St. John airports, if you're arriving anytime before August 26th, unfortunately, there will be no NBCC presence before that time at any of those airports. So you are you're on your own for doing the research and finding out how to get from the airport to where you're going. But between August 26th and August 30th, we will have student volunteers at the airports to greet you and to point you in the right direction to help answer your questions when you first arrived after likely a very long journey and your first step into New Brunswick. There will be some volunteers there to greet you, to give you some information, to answer any questions you might have. However, for students who are uh, going to live and study in Moncton, Fredericton, and St. John. So those are the three largest campuses, and that's where the airports are located. Um, if you're living in that surrounding area, someone will be there to greet you and explain to you that, okay, here's the taxi or the cab phone number, or here's where you can rent a car or whichever. But we're not responsible for transporting you from the airport to wherever you're going, because it's the airports are pretty close to the surrounding cities, right? So it's not too far. It's like a 5 to 10, 15-minute taxi ride. So that's on each student to be responsible for that. But you will get the information from one of our student volunteers. However, if you are traveling to St. Andrews, Woodstock, or Miramichi, those are a bit farther from the main airports. So you will we are providing from NBCC free transportation, so a free shuttle uh, from those airports to the smaller campuses. So again, St. Andrews, Woodstock, and Miramichi, we will be providing a free shuttle for you. But the larger campuses, St. John, Moncton, Fredericton, we won't be. So there will be more information to come on what days and what times those shuttles will be going, but we got information from our smaller campuses that we are going to offer that free transportation. Okay. Did I miss anything there, Hanny, on
Uh,
the airport services?
I don't believe that it's free of charge, so you don't have to
Yeah,
pay, and we're gonna have our staff for to greet you
that's
and
right.
provide information. Yep, I
Yeah,
think we're
so
good, and we
nothing
will
before
announce.
August 26th, but then some help between August 26th and August 30th, and then, as I said, some transportation for some students, others information. Does
Yep.
that make sense?
Well, it makes sense for me, and we're
Okay,
going to do announcement a little bit later, so
exactly.
it will be
And it,
available on our
yeah, and if
website.
that wasn't clear to anyone, please let me know in the questions.
Yep.
But moving on to, so that's to cover when you arrive in the airport and getting transportation to your hotel or to your friends or to your apartment or what have you. But then talking more generally about, we thought that a bit of transportation should go hand in hand with our housing topic. So getting around New Brunswick, I guess, is kind of this little segment. And Annie has some more information, but I also said I wanted to give some information because I know a lot of different forms of transportation because I actually don't own a car. And so yeah, which is a bit of a challenge. I will say up front that not owning a car in New Brunswick can be a bit of a challenge. We don't have the population to have major public transportation. So we don't have, frequent trains or frequent buses or large bus systems. But we do still that still exists, but on a smaller scale. So yes, just some general information. Of course, like, getting from short distances, of course, and some this will differ every campus that you're on. So for example, St. Andrews, you can, walk around the community of St. Andrews pretty easily. So you can get around the main small community without a car. Same with Fredericton. Fredericton's very walkable as well. But then Moncton, it's a bigger city. Same with St. John. Moncton and St. John are bigger cities, so you might not be able to walk everywhere, but they do have the public bus system. So it costs 250 to get a bus ticket, and then of course the NBCC Student Union um, sells bus passes for students. So there are ways to get around. There's also biking around these communities. And then of course, we do have taxis in each of these communities. So there are ways to get around. But one thing that why this ties into housing is that it is when we're going to move into the housing topic, which is the main topic of today. We want to think about you want to think about how far is your apartment going to be from campus, okay?
Yep.
So that's a really important thing for you to when Hanny gives you all the information on where to find an apartment. Be sure to look it up on Google Maps and see how far that is from campus.
Yep.
And so yeah, so I know that I was living in Fredericton, and it was a walk, a walk or a short bike ride to work for me. Now living in Moncton, it's a longer bike ride. I don't know. It would be a really
Which is
long
gonna
walk.
keep
It's
keep
like,
you healthier and
oh
you don't
yeah,
fit.
it keeps me fit for sure. So I've been biking. I don't think I would walk. It would be a quite a long walk, but there's also a bus that comes every 30 minutes. So again, that's why I wanted to give my 2 cents on the transportation is that yeah, there are lots of modes of transportation, but take that into consideration when you are trying to find an apartment because that's an important factor.
Yep.
And then the other just second thing that I want to mention, if you, for example, if you meet friends at NBCC, but they live in St. John and you're in Moncton or they're in Fredericton, um, there is the Maritime bus, which gets you between the cities and smaller towns in New Brunswick. So we do have that. While we don't have, big train system,
We don't
we
have
do have the
metro.
Maritime
Yeah.
bus. Yep. Yeah, and of course there are also like carpools and with once you get here, if you're not on Facebook already, Facebook is there are always car shares on that, and I'm sure you'll meet lots of friends at NBCC that will have a car. So yeah, so I just wanted to share my 2 cents on transportation before.
Thank you, Claire. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Claire has a lot of experience, and I just want to share my knowledge. When I came to, I'm a newcomer, and when I was in Fredericton, I mostly walk, and sometimes I use bus. But yep, it keeps you healthier, and I just want to add from my side what about the transportation, and there is a few transportation available for the students, such as bus, car. You can buy car with a rent. You can walk, of course, and there is a taxi services at available at New Brunswick. So you can bike, you can walk, you can use a bus, or you can use taxi. And just want to share some of the information. If because there is a public transportation system available only in Fredericton, St. John, and Moncton, and by public transportation I mean bus. So bus is only available at Fredericton, St. John, and Moncton. And for students who is going to, let's say, study at Fredericton campus, we would recommend to fly directly to Fredericton Airport. For students who is going to go to St. John, we would recommend use St. John Airport as final destination, and for Moncton, it's Moncton. And some of the students who is going to go study at Miramichi, there is two options for you. One is going to Moncton Airport and then use our pickup service and go to Miramichi campus, or you can use bus or taxi. And for students who going to St. Andrews, we would recommend to land at St. John Airport, land to this St. John Airport. So if you're going to study Fredericton, go to Fredericton Airport. Moncton, St. John, please go to St. John Airport. And for Miramichi, it would be Moncton or Bathurst. Bathurst is closer to Miramichi. However, there is more airlines available at Moncton, and for St. Andrews, we would recommend you to land at St. John Airport. That's information that we have right now. And then is there anything I missed, Claire, you think?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think, but again, you brought up a good point there in terms of proximity, but also so if an airport might be closer, but there might not be as many times of the day, or the cost of the flight might be more expensive. It's just good to know that yeah, again, I would repeat what you're saying, that if you're going to St. John campus, definitely fly into St. John. If you're going to Moncton, definitely, go into Moncton, same with Fredericton. But if you're on the smaller campuses, you can see to figure out which of the other airports. So you said St. Andrews is best to fly into St. John, but also Fredericton's not that much farther, so that's also an option. So
and just from our previous experience, some of the students, they when they compare the prices for air tickets, sometimes they come to Fredericton, but their campus in Moncton, and always take in account the transportation and how long it would and how much would you pay going from Fredericton to Moncton. So always take this in account when you book your ticket, because we had a previous experience.
And again, before August 26th, there won't be a free shuttle. So that's a very good point, Henny. So if so if there's no free shuttle, the taxi or the bus ride will cost some money. So check that out. And we will provide the link for Maritime Bus, but also it's in the housing guide with the taxi and the transportation. So yeah. Okay, so let's move into housing, I guess.
Yeah, now I would like to move to the housing, and I would share my screen with you guys. Just want to share my screen. Please let me know if you can see it. If you can see the screen.
Right now it's just black.
Okay. can have some technical issues here. Okay, so now we come to the, sorry, now we come to the, now you can see it?
Yep, you can see your PowerPoint on housing.
Yep, just hold a second. Housing, oh, wrong screen, sorry. Here
Okay,
you go.
there we go.
Can you see our website? Yeah.
NBCC,
So,
yep.
Yep, that's where I want you to go if you need the information for housing, and I will guide you through the information that we prepare for the students who are looking for place to stay. And you can find this information under nbcc.ca. Then you go future students, and then you go international students. And here we have the information for students who are looking for the place to stay. So as you can see from our website, it says if you need a place to stay, please take into account that NBCC does not, unfortunately, we do not provide the campuses for students. So it's your responsibilities for looking for place to stay during your study. And there is a few links that available. It's Kijiji, it's the place where you can look for the housing. There is also other websites that you can check and see what is available right now. And I just want to remind you, if you go, if you're gonna join us, please start search for your apartment as soon as possible. With the same, like Claire said about your study permit, apply as soon as possible. The same applies to the housing. Look as soon as possible for the option, so you'd have some list and available places. And another very useful resource, it calls Office of Rentalsman. Basically just regulation in New Brunswick. For example, here you can, if you're a tenant, you can see your you can read about security deposit, because some of the landlords will ask you to leave the security deposit. You can rent about lease information and how it works in Canada from law point of view, so you would be familiar with this. And I just want to guide you through the tips that our staff prepare, and the place where you can look and how you can navigate and what you need to take in account. We have housing guides for all of our campuses, for Fredericton, Miramichi, Moncton, St. John's, St. Andrews, and Woodstock. This one I would specifically stop on Fredericton campus guide, but just go through general tips and advices. Okay, I hope you can see the information. Claire, is it clear? Okay. Okay, just so here, as you can see here, as you can see on our guide, it says that you would need to look for the place, for secure place to stay while you're studying at NBCC, and this guide will provide information to help you go through the process. And there is some notes that NBCC does not recommend or endorse any listing. So this information provided on the site is purely for your convenience. So you can just, be a little bit more familiar, but we do not recommend any, let's say, place to stay. We do not recommend any rental company. We just provide you the options, and it's going to be your responsibility to just check your rental apartment or house, because we would encourage you to not to book in advance, to just have some agreement, come and check the apartment. If it works for you, you can go ahead and book and pay and pay your deposit fee and rental. And as a tenant, you may assume personal liability risk and should consider insurance, which means you may have insurance if something happens, that you will be covered under insurance. And once again, you can read it under
the rentalsman.
It's called www.snb.ca, and you can read what responsibilities and right you're going to have as a tenant. And just want to give you example for Fredericton, that Fredericton is divided by Fredericton South and Fredericton North. And here, as you can see, our campus. And just very quick tips for students who are looking to rent. If you are intending on walking to college, you may want to focus search in this area. So if you don't plan to purchase a car or in the future, or if you don't have a driving license, we would suggest to look in the area which is in walk distance with our campus. I mean, like Claire mentioned, you can get anywhere by walk, and that's what I did. And it's another great way to explore the city.
One thing
Yep.
I would just mention just about Fredericton though, it is because Google Maps right there looks very flat. One thing we should add is that
Yeah.
NBCC is at the top of a very steep hill. So just something to take into
Yep.
consideration. I mean, I know that Google Maps, if you do actually walk it out, it tells you the elevation level. Um, but just something to note. And
Yeah.
I just want to say that we're giving Fredericton as an example, but each campus has a guide similar to
Yeah.
this, correct?
This
So
the similar guide you can reach. So as you can see, there is a few things that you would need to take in consideration. It's accessibility to public transport, and the public transport only available at Fredericton, Moncton, and St. John. So you can go and check this link and see the schedule and bus availability. Then you would need to see the building and understand if it's quiet place, because in some buildings could be a lot of international students. They're very active, they might have some parties and a little bit, which is some of them find it's that's what they want. Some of the students won't have like more quiet place, and you might need maybe you want to rent a house or a room in a quiet house. I specifically always go with noisy places. So
is that true?
it is true. Yes.
Okay.
When I came, because I love to be like socialize with people, and I think that would be a great idea for me. Just from cultural experience to meet people,
Yeah.
socialize with people. But
Yeah. I
I'm
get
I'm
that.
I'm not saying that everyone is like me, so you can
Yeah.
go check. Then you would need to see how far is the grocery store, because especially if you don't have
This.
car, and especially when it's winter, because we're gonna have quite a bit of snow here, so you need to know if you wanna buy something that it would be really available for. It will be reachable with walking distance.
This is, I
Well,
would say this is very, very, very important. Just having moved from Fredericton to Moncton, I was living right next to the Sobeys grocery store in
nice.
Fredericton, and now I am very far from a grocery store in Moncton. However, one very cool thing, the NBCC Moncton campus is right next to a Sobeys, a grocery store. So I've been trying to figure out how, to get groceries right after work and then bring them home. So that's also an option. You can see
Yep.
what's around NBCC campus as well if it's not near your apartment. So
Yep.
a little
Thank you.
trick there.
Yeah, Claire has a lot of experience, so thank you for your like life hacks. And so
By Claire.
so
Okay.
another stuff that you would need to take in account, because in many apartments laundry provides, so you can have access to laundry. In some of them it's just apartments, so there is no place when you can wash your clothes. So you would need to check how far laundry services from you and how much they would cost. So just compare the price with or without laundry, because apartments without laundry is a little bit cheaper, but you would need to take into account how long you would need to go to get to the laundry, and if it's
Mhm.
worth it or not, especially at winter. So and if you're looking for the place, you would need to also take in account if it's furnished or unfurnished, because as you come here, you might don't have furnished. You would need to also take in account if you find a furnished apartment, so you just can move in and that's it. Unfurnished apartment, you would need to buy some furniture for you. You can, of course, you can buy used, but just compare the differences in prices, and how much would you spend on a furnished apartment, or do you want to have hassle looking for the furniture. I mean, there is not much furniture you might need, but always take this in account, because there are some apartments just as is, so it's going to be your responsibilities to find some furniture.
Not
And
many
utilities. Yep.
apartments, yeah, not many apartments come furnished if you're looking to live on your own, but sometimes if you're looking to have a room like that's already part of an
Yep.
apartment, sometimes those are furnished. So,
Yep. Thanks. Yeah, I personally find a furnished apartment, and yep. Another question, another very important tips here is how about the utilities. Are utilities included with your rent? Because sometimes you like see on a website and it says let's say $500, and you say that, and you might think that that's all you have to pay, but you would need to check the utilities. What is included? Does water included? That's power included? Because it could be a little bit of additional expenses on top of your rent, and always check if everything is included, it's fine, and just specify what is included, like water, other fees, and
the
if
most
it's, yep,
important
is
one
power,
is heat.
heat,
So
yep.
sometimes, so for example, and because in some of the older buildings in New Brunswick, heat can be separate from electricity. So
Mm-hmm.
for example, my actually my two most recent apartments, heat has been included, electricity is separate. Um,
Okay.
and that was a huge selling feature. That was a really good thing about the apartments, because heat can be very expensive. I lived
Mm-hmm.
for a very short time in an apartment where heat wasn't included, and it was so expensive. So heat is something to keep in mind, because we do
Yes.
have cold winters,
Yeah,
as
we
I'm
do.
sure many of you have heard about and you're going to experience. It's important that you take that
Yep.
into consideration.
Yes, take this in consideration, especially how much would you spend on power. And you can check electricity, you can check at the NB Power, just give them a phone call and ask how much would you pay for, because it's the prices for power, it's different from places to places, and you would need to check this with New Brunswick Power, because in some buildings the power bill could be like $100, in other it could be, like Claire mentioned, it could be like $200. So you would need to check this and see what is suitable for you when you planning for your budget.
Mhm.
Then we strongly recommend that you would arrange some meetings to see the apartments. And another, I think it's very important topic, when you come to Canada and it applies to the immigration officer will ask you for address where you're going to stay, whether it's apartment or maybe you just have Airbnb services, or maybe you just stay in a hotel. You would need to provide your address where you're going to stay in New Brunswick. Even if it's for 2 days, they would need to know the address where are you going to stay. Um,
Yes,
so
more on entry to Canada in our last webinar, so you can
yep.
see that recording from last week.
Mhm. And it's because we have this question before, it's uncommon for places to ask for portion of the payment in advance as a deposit. So if you consider, if someone asks you to pay in a front, we cannot advise on this and we cannot recommend. It's
No, this is saying it's not uncommon for places to ask for a deposit in advance. So most places do ask for a deposit, but it doesn't have to be paid before you arrive.
okay. Yeah. So the question was if sorry. The question was if because landlord asked to pay before you arrive.
Yeah. So
It's just, yeah, two
deposits,
topics. The deposit
yeah,
is will
two
we
separate things.
require it, but if someone asks you to pay something before you arrive, we would not recommend and then would not advise. So take this in account
But
and
it
take
depend,
the time.
yeah.
Yep.
No, the damage deposit, I guess we're going to talk about in a second. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Thank
another
you.
thing that you need to take in account, just read the housing and the leasing contract. You can find it just to understand what is your rights and responsibilities, what happens if property going to be damaged, and how you would handle this situation. So that would be advisable.
Yeah,
Quick,
find out if
it,
pets are allowed or not.
yeah,
Find out if they include snow shoveling. Find out who's going to fix appliances if they are broken. Like find out who's responsible for that. Find out what day of the month your rent is due. So the contract is very important. Yeah.
And from my previous experience, I have students, they rent a house and landlord did not allow to have any visitors. So
Right. Yeah, that's more
we
rare, but
also,
you're right. That is
yeah.
true as well.
Then we come to quick tips for tenant and find if your heat, lights, and utilities included in your rent. If it's not,
Yeah.
just find out how much would you pay. You would
Mhm.
need to pay double your first month and to pay double for your first month's rent plus damage deposit. That's what
So
Claire mentioned. That
yeah, that's what we were talking about. So you'll have to pay your first month's rent, and damage deposit is often the same amount of money as 1 month's rent. So that's
yeah.
why
So
you'll
you would
likely have
need
to
to
pay
pay for
double.
2 months. Yeah, you would need to pay for 2 months upfront. So if
Yeah.
you see, let's say it says $500, everything included, the landlord might will ask you to pay 1,000 because it would cover your first and the last month. But at the same time, you don't need to pay for your last month. Is that right, Claire?
Or you get
I
it
mean, if you
back.
did any damage
Like,
to property.
yes, that's exactly it. So
Uh,
if you don't do any damage, then you get that money back in full. But if you do, then you might not. So
and you need to pay your rent on time, keep the
yeah, so
rental clean, um, and keep any provided items like stove and fridge clean and in a good condition, because if something happens you might take responsibilities, and that's where you read about the responsibilities in your lease and housing contract. Repair damage that you or your guest have caused, um, and ensure that your guest will not disturb anyone else in the building. And that's something that might be asked by landlord, so you need to check what the conditions for that. And it's advisable to do an inspection with landlord before signing the lease, because if something is broken or property has been damaged, you would need to check it before you move in. And we would recommend you, if you saw that something is damaged or not in working condition, please take the picture or video so you can prove it. And yeah, just make sure that everything works, electricity works, and take the pictures and then video that if something is not work, so you can use it as a proof. Check if you're going to have a car, check if there's an extra fee for parking, because it would add additional cost, and if there is any additional space available for tenants. For example, if you would like to buy kayaking or do snowboarding and ski, so you have place to put your stuff. And then there is a company
coming
that
back, just coming back to the rent, paying your rent on time. It's really important that you pay your rent on time. If not, some landlords can charge you. Like there might be a
additional.
late fee of
Mhm.
$50 or $100. Also, if you have when you go to sign your lease, you'll decide whether it's setting up automatic withdrawals or if it's a check or if it's an e-transfer. So decide that or you'll find out that with your landlord. And if for any reason it is automatic withdrawals and 1 month they take it out and there's no money, then you can be charged for that as well, like $50 or $100, and your bank often charges you. So just again, some things to keep in mind. Yeah, about again paying your rent on time.
Yeah,
That's very important
yeah.
in
Claire
Canada.
has
So
a lot of experience with it. Thank you, Claire,
I'm
for
not,
your
I'm not
expertise.
saying that any of these situations have happened to me, but
Yeah. So yeah, it's
maybe
it's
they
not
have.
it's not going to happen with you, but just in case. So usually
Yeah.
everything is fine, but just
Yeah, and exactly. It's not the end of the world. It's just it might cost you an extra 50 or $100 that you don't need to pay, so it's good to know that up front. So,
yep. Then we provide the list for place where you can live and stay. This one specifically for Fredericton. In other guides, you can find the places specifically in regards to your city. So this rental companies, and Kijiji is a website where you can find available property for rent. We do not endorse or recommend to use one of them. It's just for your convenience, so you can go and check. And
and as it says
yep.
there, sorry, just if you head back up, can you go back up?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, so those are all of the different like landlords, for example, in Fredericton. As Kenny said, they're different in Moncton or in St. John. But one thing that is common, I see down there, Facebook. So if you are on Facebook, I would say the most common places are where there are a lot of rentals are Kijiji and Facebook. And where here it says Fredericton and area apartment, there's also, yeah, Moncton area apartments or St. John area apartments. So those are probably the two most common. But then with the landlord websites, it's kind of nice because you can actually go and look at what the tenant agreement is. Often it's all there on the website. So you know do check all of these. They're all a bit different, but yeah. So lots of information there for you to go and research, explore your possibilities.
Yep. Thanks, Claire. And now just know that there is a protection for tenant, and tenants is someone who is going to rent, which in this case going to be you guys. So there is a protection and the regulation body, and you can read it on rentals Salman, but rentalsman, sorry, by this link, so you can read and see what's your rights, what your responsibilities. And that's basically it for housing. So if you looking for tips for specifically for, let's say, for Miramichi, you can go and check check on our website under nbcc.ca future students international, and then you just check housing, and there is a guide and tips and links to the website, a government website, when you can read and see what is available. And that's what I had from my side. Is there anything you would like to add, Claire, for this?
Yeah, no, I guess if people were wondering why we didn't go to the rest of those 10 pages, it's
Yes.
because that's an
Oh yeah.
overall campus guide. So there is more information on there, but we were sticking to the housing section today.
It's
So
it's a good point, because this guide is been developed by our staff, and there is a
yeah,
more information than just housing. I mean, main purpose, of course, is to provide information for housing, but if you can like scroll down, you can see pharmacy,
pharmacies,
where
places
the
of
pharmacy,
worship, banks.
places of worship, banks, used clothes, grocery store, which
Yeah,
you can check on and public school and daycare. So it's
yeah,
of
lots
course,
of great
it's
information.
it's a lot of great and information. Would encourage you to go and check. And that's what I had from my side for housing.
Great. And then we wanted to make an announcement before
Yep,
jumping into questions and
yep.
answers.
We have announcement for you. And
Okay.
you want to do announcement?
No, go for it. I was gonna say we should have kept the website up so we could show them where it is. Do you
Okay.
want me to share my screen or
Yep, you can go ahead. Yep.
share my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay. Oh, wait.
Sorry.
Oh, now I'm like, where's share my screen? Uh, I've, I've lost it now. So do you want to share your screen? Sorry,
Yep. Sorry,
answer
guys.
some
We
of the
have some technical.
technical difficulties.
Yeah, but we will overcome it. So, can you
All
see the
right.
screen?
Yep. So we can see the screen. So if you go to the NBCC,
So this one is for orientation, because a lot of guys asking us when is going to be orientation for international student, and it's
yes.
already the registration is already open. So if you go at nbcc.ca under future student,
I was gonna say
under
that was our
future
big announcement.
student,
I was waiting.
yeah,
So the big
international
announcement
students,
is, yep,
and you can go orientation, and that's
yeah,
where you need to register
for
for,
ITLC
yeah. So ITLC,
right there.
just
Yeah.
yeah, just click
So
this link and register now, and that's where it says that registration will be available on August 29th 2019, and it's
no,
a
no. So
fantastic
registration
opportunity.
is open now, but
Oh, I'm
the
sorry,
orientation will be August 29th. So that's our big
sorry, yep.
exciting news is that is that registration for international orientation is open. And it is really important that you register, because if you see in the fine print there, it says that ITLC at NBCC is open to all international students. It's not mandatory, it is optional. Like, we hope you join ITLC, but it is limited to 60 students per campus. Okay, so that is, and there are a lot more than 60 people per campus coming, so it's important that um, you register.
Yep.
You register now if you're here watching this webinar. You're the first ones to hear this announcement. So
Yep.
so yeah, definitely register for ITLC if you're going to be here on August 29th.
Yep.
If you have your flight scheduled for August 30th or August 31st, as we've said in past webinars, we will be having ITLC lunch and learns. So after classes start, we'll have 1 hour per week about ITLC topics. But yeah, if you're able to make it in person and you're interested, yeah, register now. So
Yep. And as it says on the website, if you're unable to attend
oh,
this
it
one
says it
day
right there.
session,
Yeah,
we'll be offering small session during lunch hours in the first
great.
couple of weeks. And some of the students ask me, is it mandatory to participate in orientation session? No, it's not. However, we would recommend you to register and be informative,
Definitely.
because yep,
Yeah, it's a lot of
definitely
good
definitely
information.
recommended, not mandatory. Yep.
Yes. And if you do attend them, you'll be entered into a prize. So that's cool too.
Yep. You're gonna have the prize.
So okay, let's dig into
Yep.
these questions
Question.
because we do have a lot of them. But we also want to quickly cover 3 questions that were asked last webinar that we're going to go into today. So quickly, the first one was about homestay. Hanny, what's the information on homestay?
So
Is there homestay at NBCC?
So homestay, there is available services for homestay, and it's available for students who is under 19 years old, because in Canada, in order to come and study, especially in New Brunswick, if you're under 19 years old, you would need to have custodianship, and homestay provides this custodianship, but this option only available for students who is under 19 years old, and
Okay.
that's what might be present to your immigration officer. I'm not sure if I understand that. Uh, Immigration officer may ask you for custodianship as well. Do
Yes,
you
that
think?
is a whole other issue. So if
Yeah.
you are under 19 years old, yes, send us an email and we'll talk about what that looks like about
Yeah.
custodianship. But so homestay is only for that situation, eh? So everyone else, we hope you, yes, use our housing guide. So then the second question was about transferring money. So we kind of touched on this about the damage deposit. Um, we got a question last week that said a landlord wanted the student to transfer money before they even arrived in Canada, and what
Mhm.
was our opinion on that?
So we would not recommend you to pay for that, because you don't. I'm not because you don't know landlord. You never met this person, and we do not. As I mentioned before, the deposit would be required uh, by landlord or rental company, but we would not advise. We just cannot advise or recommend you to pay upfront. Yep, that's best advice I can give.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I would recommend. I mean, we don't want you to give the wrong impression.
Yes.
Canadians, New Brunswickers are trustworthy, but it's a risk we don't want you to take especially if they're asking for a full month's rent in advance. If you're able to knock that down to $50, or I don't know, or if you're able to have a web chat with them before, but in general, we would not recommend paying any money up front. It's best to meet the person, meet the landlord in person and see the apartment, right? So those are 2 things. That's why, again, we have said in past webinars, we hope you're able to arrive in Canada at least a week before classes start, so you can
Yep.
settle that into a place to stay. Yeah. So okay.
Okay. And
And third question
third one. Yeah, third
was
one.
sorry was Benedicto, as someone asked, yeah, Benedicto asked, sorry, is it difficult to rent for international students, considering they may not have references here in Canada? What is your opinion on that, Hanny? Because this is something I think you can answer better than I can.
Well,
So
I can answer this question, and I can refer to my own experience. When I
yeah.
came to Canada, I personally rent Airbnb for a few days, just just to look for apartment. And when I use Airbnb services, I Airbnb services would basically what it does. It just if someone has place and they have like spare rooms, they can rent this spare room for you, so you can just it's cheaper than hotel. But some people prefer to stay in a hotel or other places, but in my case, it was Airbnb, and it was great because my host, she provides me a lot of information,
Mm,
how to get to the place, about the area, what is, and because uh, they live here for all their life, so they can provide you a lot of and valuable information. I found the apartment. I review few apartments, and one the place that I like, it's required me to have references. So when I talk to landlord and I explain my situation that I'm newcomer in Canada and I've never rent in my life. Maybe you did rent and you may have your reference from your home
mhm,
country. And I explained the situation that it's just my first time renting the premises, and I would pay deposit fee or have insurance, and it depends from landlord to landlord, I believe. But in my case, my landlord let me in apartment, even if references was required by advertisement. But I just went and see, and when you talk to each other and explain the situation, in many cases, landlord, not in many cases, but in my case particular, landlord allowed me to move in, because I received this question from some students from our Facebook international page. They
mhm.
said that they have troubles because the references are required, because they do it like they try to find a place from outside of Canada. But my best advice would be arrange meeting with landlords, see the apartment. If it works for you, just discuss. Maybe there is a way to do it, and you might get it. So if you see that references is required, I would encourage you not to stop and ask landlord to see the place. If it works for you, you can discuss details. If it's not, it's not, but it's worth to give it a try. I guess it's just my opinion, my experience.
Yeah, and a few other things on that is I would say we had been chatting about this question before. You can bring references with you from
Yep,
your home country.
home country. Yep,
Another, you're mentioning Airbnb. Um, you um, the funniest, or sorry, not the funniest thing is the good point that you brought up is you've talked about your Airbnb hosts before, right? You got to know them
yes,
for about a week or so. One
yes.
thing that perhaps, I mean, you hadn't asked them, but if you are staying with a Airbnb host for a week, maybe they can provide at least
Yep.
a character reference for knowing you for a week.
Oh,
I don't know.
it's a good point. Yeah. In my case, my Airbnb host, they also have a property that they rent out. In my case, everything was full at that time. But yeah, it's a good point, and especially when I was looking for the place, like if you're looking for jobs, it's
Also,
yeah,
some Airbnb hosts, and again, this is not everyone, but
yeah,
sometimes, they're busiest in the summer to like, renting their room in Fredericton or Moncton, but then in the fall, there's not as many tourists, so they actually might be interested in having you rent their room full time. That's also an option, but also another thing, if you're communicating with a landlord, yeah, because of technology, you could get on Skype and have
yeah.
a chat with that landlord to build a relationship.
Yeah,
But
and from
okay,
my
yep,
experience, sorry for interrupting you. From my experience, it's easier to to rent and come to the agreement when you're already in Canada. You have to look and just see what is available. Maybe send the email and ask the arrangement. But as soon as you come here and you see the places, you communicate. Maybe it's a little bit easier to rent. So yep.
yeah, yeah. So okay, good question for that, Benedicto. And so we'll move on to the questions that we have
Questions?
here. So, because as always, we've got lots of questions. We're going to try to get to as many as possible, and maybe we'll tack on a bit of time, maybe
Yes.
5 extra minutes at the end.
Okay.
Vidi Patel has said, I have paid my tuition fees for 1 year and I'm left with other fees like student union and others. So is it fine if I pay that after coming there? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, you can. So the last day to pay all of your fees is the first Friday, correct, Henny?
Yes, that's
That's
correct.
September 6th, I think.
Yep. Yep.
September 6th.
And you can pay by semester. For example, for insurance, you don't need to pay upfront for whole year, so you can pay by semester and then
Yep.
apply for free provincial Medicare from New Brunswick, so you don't have to pay for winter semester. We're gonna
Yep.
talk about insurance a little bit later in our webinars.
And then Dhruv Mehta, yeah, is there a place where you could suggest for students to rent? We've got that list of places
Yep.
that we that are available. We can't
Just
endorse any of
yeah.
them. Yeah.
Just look for the place, take in account tips that we provide and the tips that provide in guide, and look for anything that's suitable to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Is a
Is
lease agreement? Do you want to go? Yeah, go for it.
okay. Is a lease agreement mandatory in New Brunswick? If my landlord refused to sign or provide a lease agreement, should I be concerned? Am I breaking provincial law, renting a room without a lease agreement in place? Should I insist to sign a lease agreement to protect my tenancy rights? What's your opinion?
Whew, that's a good one.
It's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good one. Whenever you are actually taking over an apartment as like the entire apartment, so bedroom, bathroom, kitchen, yes, a lease agreement is mandatory. I wouldn't move into an apartment if that didn't exist. So that's to answer your straightforward question. The side kind of situation to that is that I have subletted from people, and I have also been the subletter to people. Subletting means that someone else owns the lease. They have signed the paperwork with the landlord, but you are like borrowing that room you're paying for that room for a month or 2 months. Usually those are just for like the summer or for a semester. And if it's a sublet, there's not always paperwork that goes with it. Paperwork is always really recommended, but if you are subletting, it's not necessarily mandatory. I hope that makes sense. Like if that's just a room for a short time period, that's not necessarily necessary to go in the paperwork. But if it's the entire apartment, yes, definitely a lease agreement.
Okay,
Yeah,
great,
does that make sense?
great,
Okay.
great insights, Claire. Yeah,
Yeah,
makes
isn't it great that I've lived all over New Brunswick in many apartments?
yeah,
So, okay,
and
are there also hotel facilities available near the campus? Yes, there are
yes,
a couple hotels near us in NBCC Moncton. How
yep,
about Fredericton? There's some.
there is a few hotels in downtown, which I believe around 5 minutes by car to the
Mhm.
Fredericton campus. So there is few options if you can just go and check out guide and just maybe Google and see on the map how far it is.
Yeah,
That is a good question.
a
What does
question.
purpose of I have two good questions. What does purpose of visit mean in study permit denial?
So the purpose of visit. So I again, okay. So this isn't necessarily today's topic, but immigration questions, I guess, will slip in whenever we can get them.
Yep.
Um, so the purpose of visit, like so IRCC may have refused you because of your purpose of visit, but there's usually a follow-up sentence as well. So because of so like yeah, the purpose of the visit, they may not believe that your past career or past studies line up with your current program here at NBCC. So unfortunately, this means that the immigration officer does not mean that you truly want to be a student in that program. You're just trying to come into Canada through NBCC. So that
Yep.
is that's the basics of it. So again, you need to be able to show that the program you're going to be studying at NBCC makes sense with your past, or if it doesn't make sense with your past, it makes sense with your future career or study pathway. Okay, so that's why they may deny you on purpose of visit. They don't believe that you actually want to study at NBCC. So,
Yep.
okay. And we do have, I sent out last week, the past 2 weeks, I think I have sent out a PDF that says all of the reasons of denial and all of my kind of explanations or suggestions for improvements if you're going to reapply. Okay,
Yep.
so check that out. Check
Yep.
your emails. Okay, so next one.
Another question, what is average monthly cost for utilities, electricity, water, heating, home, high-speed board, internet? Are there any additional fee to pay, like trash collection, TV license, and etc.?
Good question.
Sorry, is cable TV expensive? So I would say that monthly cost of utilities it's varies from house to house, from apartment to apartment. That's what we recommend you to check with New Brunswick Power, how much would you pay, and you can check with your landlord what other expenses would be included other than just monthly payment. The cable TV, I would say you would need to look with internet. I would say you would look at $120 per month.
Yeah.
That's what I pay, so I think it's expensive.
It is. Canada
Yeah.
is known to be one of the most expensive places in the world for internet and cable and phones. So
Yeah.
sadly, that is true.
and
That will
and
be a big
yep.
expense of your utilities. Yeah.
And from my experience, like you don't need to have like land phone. You don't. If you have a cell phone, it's fine. So you don't have to pay for you. It's you might have it or not, but I mean nowadays you might skip the option to have your phone at home, and it might reduce. Do you have your phone at home, Claire? Do you
No,
use just cell
no,
phone? Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
And I had a full I got talked into a cable and internet package in Fredericton when I was setting up my own apartment. But then moving to Moncton, I'm part of a triplex, so there are 3 apartments close to each other. And I got to know my neighbor, and I saw that there was internet that was pretty strong in my apartment. So I asked her if we could share the cost of internet. So
Wi-Fi.
that
Yep.
definitely helps. Yeah. So Wi-Fi. Yeah.
It's a
So
good point. Yeah. Life hacks from Claire. So
life hacks from Claire.
yeah.
But we're
Okay.
going to talk a bit more about your monthly costs in a webinar in budgeting, like money
Yeah.
talks,
Yeah.
in August. Okay,
Yep.
so stay tuned for that, Alan.
How can I
And Alan,
open?
yep,
Yep.
has another
Uh,
question. How can I open a Canadian bank account before arriving in Canada? Without a valid study permit, will NBCC's letter of acceptance and IRCC's letter of application approval suffice to convince the banks? Henny, did you have any experience? Did you open a Canadian bank account
so
before you
so
came?
from first of all, we're gonna have another webinar with one of our staff who used to work at the bank, and she's
Good
very
point.
familiar with this. From my experience, there is some options that available as far as I remember at RBC Bank when you can open account, but you cannot use it until you come here. So check at Royal Bank of Canada or just other Canadian banks, because there is some options available. But as far as I know, you cannot use account before you come to Canada. It might be not like completely 100% information, but I would suggest you to go and check at one of the Canadian banks, which could be Scotiabank, RBC, Bank of Montreal. So yep, it is
Yep.
possible, but there is some conditions applies to that.
Yeah. So stay tuned. If you are able to hold off until our August session, I think it's August
Yes,
8th or yeah.
we're going to announce it shortly.
Yeah. So, next question. I had a national diploma from Nigeria, and my intended program is also diploma. Is that going to be a problem? Again, just talking again, this comes back to purpose of visit. Make sure that there is an explanation into why you are doing a different diploma here at NBCC. So just make sure that makes sense in your life path. Okay. Um, Manuel, oh, only the 26th. Yes, sorry.
We're talking
We were,
about pickup services, right?
yeah, we're talking about airport pickup services only starts August 26th. And sorry for that. It's just uh we need to have volunteers for that full week, and we're busy preparing, well, busy doing webinars and preparing everything before that time. So sorry.
Yep.
Hi guys, thank you for these webinars. Yeah, I
Thank
have
you
been
for
trying.
watching us.
Yeah, we really appreciate
Yeah.
everyone watching and interacting. So I've been trying to reach out to possible landlords, but I'm not getting any answers. If I arrive on the 21st of August, do I still have time to find an apartment near the campus? I'm a bit worried about that. Yeah, that's a totally fair worry. I would say keep trying. Um, Keep trying to reach out to landlords. Keep checking some of those other sites that maybe you haven't done yet. And yeah, there's no harm in trying. But also, if you arrive on the 21st of August, um, yeah, it will be obviously closer to when all students are arriving. Um, but I don't know.
Yep.
I don't think it's too late, but
Yeah.
so that's why I would encourage everyone who's listening out there to do that research now and as early as
Yep.
possible, and try to um, talk to build up relationships with landlords to see if yeah.
From my experience that I mentioned before, it's easier to get the appointment with landlord if you're already in Canada. I mean, you have to have the list, and when you come to Canada, they might be, more responsive to you. Just give them a phone call, and yep, that's my best advice. Because I also encounter this because landlord, if you send them email saying I might come, like I'm going to study, they might not be. They know that you're not here, so they might want to be focused on someone who is here. It works like first come first serve. So
Mhm.
yep, from my experience, life
But
hacks from Annie, I believe.
okay, like all right. So sorry that wasn't a super clear answer, Benedicto. Keep trying. Keep trying to reach out to landlords and tell them that you've got your study permit, you are coming to NBCC, all that. And just yeah, keep trying. Try to have, as I said, get on Skype. Maybe they'll be like, okay, I see that you're a real person. I see that you're a nice guy. So, yeah, that could help, I guess.
Yep.
Okay. What is the average cab fare from airport to the campus? Do cabs have a past midnight surcharge? As far as I know, I don't think cabs have a past midnight surcharge here, but yeah, average cost.
I, I,
I
bel- I
yeah,
believe I can give advices on this. For example, if you're looking from Fredericton Airport to downtown or Fredericton campus, you would pay around $20-30
yeah.
within city limits, and
I was
for St. John it's $30, and for Moncton it's also $30.
yeah.
Yep.
I was gonna say $20 to $30.
Yep.
I've been fortunate enough. I have many friends that I count on to pick me up from airports, so I haven't taken taxi too much, and hopefully that will be the same case for you the next time you go anywhere from New Brunswick. But I think it's about $30. So I am not getting any follow-up mails regarding previous webinars. Okay. Okay, Vidi, if you are on Facebook, I would recommend to send us a quick message on there,
Yep.
or provide us your email here and I will search for your email.
Yeah,
Um,
I just want to mention you guys that we have Facebook NBCC international page. So if you have some questions, because we cannot sometimes cover everything during the one webinar, and if you have some questions, I will provide the link right now,
mhm.
so you can check us at
Oh,
NBCC Facebook International.
okay.
Here,
And
here is the
I,
link.
I think we'll add, Henny, are you okay with 5 more minutes?
Yep, yep.
Yeah, okay. So we're gonna go to 11:10 just to get through a few more questions. But
Mhm.
so you've responded to Vidi there? Yeah,
Yes, I
with the
responded
link?
to
Okay.
all, so you can
Oh,
check
okay.
Facebook, NBC, Facebook International, and that's the link where You can go sign up for our Facebook page. There is some webinars available, so you can watch them. Give us a
Because
like if you like it. Yeah.
this is our NBCC hack, is that Facebook Messenger is a bit faster than the email, just because
Yep.
there are hundreds of emails
Yep.
coming through, which it's a bit slow to get through. So sorry about that. And we just had a message here from one of our NBCC staff, and so I wanted to clarify, I guess, with the airport shuttle service. She says that the free shuttle service is at 11 a.m. every day. So when we're talking about Miramichi, St. Andrews, and Woodstock, so from those from the airport to those campuses, the shuttle is at 11 a.m. So
Yep.
they will need to have a place to stay overnight if they arrive the night before or after 11 a.m. and need to wait for the next day. So does that make sense to everyone, I hope? So unfortunately, if you arrive at 1 p.m. on a Wednesday, you'll need to find a hotel near the airport for that night and then catch the 11 a.m. shuttle the next day. I hope that makes sense to everyone.
Yep.
Okay, so oh, and this is also a question about what if I arrive after August 30th? Let's say September 1st or 2nd, will the shuttle from the airport to St. Andrews be available? Unfortunately, Jennifer, no, because then classes are starting and all of our staff are very busy on campus. So sorry, Jennifer, after August 30th, it won't be available either.
Okay.
And do you want to do the next one, Henny?
Yes, all housing listed in NBC University are booked. And St. Andrews, is there any way to me to move to my first selected in St. John when I apply to NBCC? So because this is in regards to admission, if you can go and you can send I will provide you a link for our admission customer service, so you can give them a phone call or send them email, and I will provide this link available to everyone. So if someone wants to change their program, or
Yeah, so unfortunately
yeah,
that's not Hanny and I who make those decisions, so
yep.
it will be
Especially if it
through.
depends on the available
Mm,
uh, seats availability. If the program is full, it's full. If they're gonna have some seats, please check by the information that I provide for you.
okay. Someone said this is Moncton. Oh right. Okay, Benedicto, that was okay. And again, yeah, afraid that there won't be any housing in St. Andrews. Are there any other options? We are actually focused on St. Andrews right now. One of our colleagues is searching for another possible creative option for you, so stay tuned for that. We're coming up with solutions because we know that St. Andrews particularly is a small town, so not as many housing options. So um, okay, Hong, hi, I have a question. Are we obliged to enter the study self-service before August? Because I can't enter it, although I've tried every way you showed me in the email, because I'll buy a laptop in Canada, so it's going to be until August 26th or 7th. So self-service. So maybe you're talking about registration? Yeah, do you think that's what that sounds like, Henny? So
Yep.
self-service, so self-service registration is not open until August 14th, August 13th. Is that correct, Tenny?
Yes, so you will receive email on August 13th in order to register for your program, and the registration basically tells us that you are going to come and study at NBCC, so it's very advisable for you, just check your email and register for the program of your choice. Yep.
Okay, and another comment from our colleague. Students may want to be aware that the taxi drivers are not necessarily very talkative or friendly like the rest of the people they will meet. Okay, please don't take it personally. Just the culture of taxi drivers in some of the bigger cities. So, okay, there's some
Yeah.
Canadian cultural advice. It depends.
Yeah, it depends. In my cases,
Cab
I
driver to
always
cab
met
driver. Yeah,
friendly drivers, but yeah,
yeah.
could be case. So
But
don't take it
good
personally.
Good tip. Yeah, don't take it personally. Just because Hanny and I are very friendly, and most people I think you meet on the NBCC campuses will be very friendly and welcoming. Um, that may not apply to every single Canadian, of course. So
Come to
just please,
Canada, guys, and you became very friendly too. Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we are gonna wrap it up. We'll have one last question, because one of our other colleagues here is
Yep.
asking, maybe on behalf of students going to Woodstock, what about Woodstock campus airport destination?
Fredericton, as I said previously, the
Yeah,
Fredericton Airport would be the airport for your destination to Woodstock.
yeah, because sorry, Fredericton to Woodstock is about an hour. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I can make
it's
it
not too long.
45 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we'll go into
It's
Canadian driving
it's
culture
life
some other time.
hacking. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's it from us for this week. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Sorry we didn't
Yeah.
get to all of your questions, but really good questions that were asked. So we hope those were helpful.
And
And we
just
will,
want to add, just
yep.
send us message to NBCC International, our Facebook page, if you have more questions in regard to any question that you have. We whether advise you or we will refer you to the right person and how
Mhm.
you would be able to handle this.
Yeah.
And
And
that's
next
it.
week,
Yeah,
next
we
week we've
will.
got an NBCC international student or
Yep.
international graduate. So to give you their firsthand experience.
Yes.
So yeah, stay tuned for that. I think that means that it will be Hanny and the student. So I don't think I'll be on that webinar, will I? So we'll see. Maybe I'll make a guest appearance and ask a couple. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the next topic of webinars is to get the student perspective, and
Yep.
then next week we'll also, or yeah, we'll be sending out early next week the list of the webinars for August.
Yes.
So stay tuned for that. And thanks again, everyone.
Yep. See you guys. Have a great day.
Okay, bye.